Welcome to CBC Windsor News at 6. I'm Meg Roberts. Thanks so much for spending part of your evening with us tonight. It's only one of 3 in Canada. A new grocery store has opened in Windsor, promising major savings. Plus, corner stores in the province are officially selling booze. Some local reaction tonight. And a new invasive species has been discovered at Hillman Marsh. We hear why it's problematic. A grocery chain with big profits is promising big savings. At a new pilot store, people got their first glimpse of the new no-name store in LaSalle today. We sent the CBC's Chris Ensing to see if it's a good deal.
Apples, canned goods, cookies, what you're buying from the grocery store probably costs more than it did a year ago.
You know, everything is so expensive.
Nafisa Nawe knows how to save a dime. She's cooking 3 meals a day for 3 kids and an international student that she's taking in. Saving $1 is a big deal.
Even $2 we save. We are happy. It's money.
At the end of the day, you get less for a toonie.
Big grocery chains are often blamed for higher prices. Loblaw was the target of a boycott after reporting more than $450 million in profit during its first quarter. The company says it's listening to customers, now offering something new, an ultra discount no-name grocery store.
And we wanted to trial this. This is a pilot and trial test.
These no-name pilot stores open in St. Catharines and Brockville this month. The one in Windsor opened today.
We felt we needed to do something, and this was our suggestion to do something. So we've taken a store with 1,300 SKUs. We've reduced the cost of running the store, and we've passed all that cost on to our customers.
The yellow no-name branding is all over the store. So are the cheeky messages telling you how much you'll save on their really cheap stuff. But what you won't see here is dairy. You won't see meat. You won't see eggs. They say storing that stuff costs a lot of money inside of a grocery store. If they don't have it here, they can pass that savings on to the customers. There's also fewer items, shorter hours, and limited marketing, saying all that saves up to 20% for customers.
And so it's really going to keep costs as low as possible. So the idea is to basically compete against Dollarama and Giant Tiger, and both companies have actually done fairly well within the frugal market that we have right now.
Constantly rising prices.
The cost of what's in your cart is constantly rising. Food prices almost always going up, slower than a few years ago, but still not what people want to see.
You want to see the prices coming down.
This new approach might mean people change habits, especially those who have the time to chase down $1 savings.
I drop off my kids to the school and I run back here. When I count, maybe $60, $50 less than the other grocery shop.
Chris Ensing, CBC News, Windsor.
Today is the beginning of a new era in Ontario. Convenience stores across Ontario can start selling beer, wine coolers, and other alcoholic beverages. We visited one Windsor convenience store to see how sales today were doing.
It's very exciting for me and for other stores in the convenience industry. We've been fighting for this for decades, so it's just that this is happening, this is here, and we're extremely excited. So behind me, I have a 12-door walk-in cooler. I'm very fortunate. But I did bring in 4 to 5 more refrigerated coolers to move some of our products. We don't want to downsize and cannibalize our business as well. We just shifted things around. We got 5 doors dedicated to it. We're going to add some more open-air refrigerators and some more display units. And we'll grow it as the customers see fit, you know. We stocked up on a lot of the mainstream beers that you'll see behind me. I've had great conversations with a lot of our craft breweries. Right now, we have access to some of their products, and we're going to continue to showcase those products. Oh yeah, we've made many sales today already. I had somebody come 7 a.m., 7:05. He just finished his shift, and he was able to buy a 6-pack and go home and enjoy those drinks. So it's great. I think this is something we all deserve, and it should have happened a long, long time ago.
I think it's a great idea for the people like me who can't get all the way to the liquor stores and the beer stores. It saves us a lot of trouble, and it's more convenient. You still got to be a certain age to buy it. Young kids can't come in and buy it. So now I don't have to get a cab to go get a can of beer.
CBC's Ali Chasson has more information on the rules and reactions from Ontario residents.
A lot of people I spoke with today were like, whoa, I can buy booze in convenience stores already? And they're right to be surprised. That wasn't supposed to be a thing until 2026. Premier Doug Ford did accelerate this, so here we are. 4,200 convenience stores across the province are now selling beer, wine, ready-made cocktails. That includes mega chains and independent stores. They will ask for ID. Some stores will keep the booze fridges locked. They'll sell from 11 a.m. to 11 at night, which are longer hours than the LCBO and the beer store. Many customers say they like the convenience. Others have concerns.
Actually pretty happy with it. I think the LCBO is an unnecessary oligopoly, or rather monopoly on alcohol sales, so I'm happy that other people will have the opportunity to make some money off of it. I've lived in other countries where, in the UK and in other parts of Canada even, where it's legal, and I've never seen an issue, so I don't expect it to be.
I think it makes it a lot easier to get alcohol, obviously. Having to find an LCBO to get alcohol is kind of annoying.
I grew up in Newfoundland where they always served beer at convenience stores, so it's maybe a little bit going back to the norm.
This is great for people to have options. If people are going to consume it, they're going to figure out a way to get it one way or another.
Keep it out of the convenience stores where, it's just a nice environment to come and just get for your snacks or, just little stuff, just keep it to the LCBOs.
You know who is happy though? Those convenience store owners who now have a lot more on offer.
So I'm so excited about this beer selling and wine and champagne. My sale is so low. Every day I have a very low traffic. So when this beer will come, my traffic will come up, and in my view, I will go more than 50% to my sale. And it's very huge support for us, very huge support.
Ontario Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie condemns this, basically saying the money it costs to roll this out could be better spent elsewhere, on social services, transit, the environment. It does cost hundreds of millions in buyouts to the beer store and paying the LCBO for lost revenue. Bonnie Crombie estimates a $1 billion cost to taxpayers. Meanwhile, Premier Doug Ford tweets this video saying, cheers to choice.
We're leveling the playing field and giving small businesses the opportunity to grow and create good local jobs. Most importantly, we're giving you more choice and convenience. Cheers to choice.
Cheers.
20% of the beer being sold has to be from smaller companies. 10% of the wine has to be sourced from smaller wineries. So that choice will vary from store to store. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Pre-trial arguments in a sexual assault case of ex-Canadian World Junior hockey players has gotten underway in London. At the time they were charged earlier this year, Michael McLeod and Cal Foote were with the New Jersey Devils. Dylan Dubé was with the Calgary Flames and Carter Hart was with the Philadelphia Flyers. Their NHL contracts expired in July. Former NHLer Alex Formenton was playing in Switzerland. The allegations of sexual assault date back to 2018 when they were members of Canada's gold medal winning World Junior team and are tied to an incident in a player's hotel room following a Hockey Canada Foundation gala. The 5 hockey players were not in court today. Media is not able to report on the pretrial hearings because it's covered by a publication ban, as well as the identity of the victim and 2 witnesses. CBC spoke with the lawyer representing McLeod.
The sentiment remains the same. He has always taken the position that he is not guilty of any wrongdoing. He's pleading not guilty. He will be very vigorously defending this case. It's a matter of public record that he is playing in the KHL, and so with the permission of the court, he's playing overseas, and at least for today and tomorrow, he will not be in personal attendance. He's a professional hockey player. That's how he makes his living. Like any person facing a criminal allegation, he'd like to continue making a living. It's also a notorious fact that professional hockey careers can be short, and he'd like to extend his career as long as he can.
Jagmeet Singh made a campaign-style appearance in Toronto today. It came a day after the NDP leader announced the end of a power-sharing deal with the Liberals, but he wouldn't say what it would take for him to bring down the Trudeau government and force an election. As Ashley Burke reports, Singh is trying out a new strategy to try and win voter support.
A day after Jagmeet Singh's big breakup with the Liberals, he's campaigning to replace Justin Trudeau.
And when the next election comes, my friends, I am running to be the next Prime Minister of this country.
This polling aggregate shows the Conservatives have surged in support, and if there were an election today, could win 42% of the popular vote. That's at the expense of the Liberals, which have been trailing behind all year, and the NDP hasn't benefited. It's sitting in third place.
When folks are upset with the red team, they then start looking at the blue team.
Singh came out swinging against the blue team, trying to distance himself from the Liberals and position himself as the alternative to Pierre Poilievre.
Let me be clear. Conservative cuts would take things from bad to worse.
Singh stayed on his message track, repeating it more than a dozen times.
We have ripped up the agreement with Justin Trudeau. We have absolutely ripped up the agreement with Justin Trudeau, and that means an election is more likely. We have ripped up the agreement with Justin Trudeau. The agreement is done.
But despite repeated questions, wouldn't say if he would bring down the government.
I will look at any vote that comes before us, and we will make a decision in the best interest of Canadians, as any minority government normally operates.
And people know that. They remember what Conservatives do.
This is all unfolding during two fierce by-election campaigns.
And who is ready to elect common sense Conservative Colin Reynolds in Elmwood, Transcona?
The NDP is trying to hold on to a seat in Manitoba and pick up another in Montreal. Now the party's in the spotlight.
And it allows them to go to voters in those ridings in particular and say, look, we aren't propping up the unpopular Liberals. You can vote for us and get something different.
The move puts the Liberals on shakier ground.
Hopefully the NDP will continue to try and deliver for Canadians. Right now they're focused on politics. We're focused on Canadians.
Singh says he's ready for an election, but if he plans on triggering one, he won't say when. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
So what could the end of that federal deal mean in Ontario, especially with Premier Doug Ford considering an early election? Queen's Park reporter Lorenda Redekop has that part of the story.
It looked like the federal election campaign was already on, a day after the NDP leader ended his party's deal with the Liberals.
And we know that makes an election more likely. We're going to make a decision based on whatever votes come in front of us.
With a question mark on the timing of a federal election, what does it mean for Premier Ford and the talk of an early provincial race? Depends who you ask.
I think, yes, life just got tougher for Justin Trudeau, but it also got a bit tougher for Doug Ford. Yesterday's news puts a wrench into Doug Ford's timing.
This Liberal strategist says it'll put the accelerator on the potential early election call in Ontario, with Doug Ford wanting to face voters while Justin Trudeau is still Prime Minister and benefit from the federal Liberals low in the polls.
So perhaps the news yesterday will push Ford to perhaps call a very early spring election, a winter election.
He says seeing an Ontario election and a federal race back to back is unlikely. One Conservative strategist agrees, given that all the parties rely on many of the same door knockers at the provincial and federal levels.
Your actual manpower, your ground game in the riding level, you need your volunteers to have the capacity to essentially volunteer for 2 elections within 1 year. That's tough to do.
But she disagrees that Conservatives are now in a tough spot.
We're a bit like that meme of, Jon Stewart eating popcorn and just watching what's happening.
She says that in Ontario, Ford's team has prepared for this possibility, given the usual timing of minority governments. But neither of these strategists believes the federal NDP is ready to trigger an election, because the party doesn't have enough money or candidates. In Ontario, all the provincial parties have already been working on fundraising and nominating candidates. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
A new invasive plant species has been discovered at Hillman Marsh. It's never been seen in Canada before and is raising concerns at the Essex Region Conservation Authority. Hydrilla was discovered by a team of researchers at the University of Waterloo. ORCA is asking the public to report any sightings of it.
There are 4 different ways it can spread by. It can spread by seeds, like most plants, but also it can spread by tubers, which are sort of potato-like underground structures. It can spread by things called turions, which are little buds that form above ground. And even the plant fragments can grow whole new plants. that can produce like 1,000 new plants that can then spread. And the reason that it is problematic is because it grows so densely. It can fill in the entire water column, and doing so, it can prevent other plants from growing.
If there's something that's fortunate about what we found, it's in one of the cells that we have in Hillman Marsh that are a cell that we can fully isolate from Hillman and Lebo Creeks. And we can undertake mitigation within that cell without disturbing other areas or creating problems in other areas.
Another beautiful day here in Windsor, Essex County. Riley Lachuk is here now with our weather forecast.
Well, Meg, I hope if you're a fan of the warm weather, you got to spend some time outside today, because things are changing and we are going to start to feel a lot more fall-like in terms of temperature, especially as we get into the weekend. Have a look at some of these numbers from today, though. Boy, oh boy, 28 in Sarnia this afternoon, 27 through the Hamilton, Niagara region, 27 this afternoon in Windsor as well, and really across the region between 26 and 28 degrees today. These are a good 5 degrees above the seasonal normal for this time of the year, but as I mentioned, things are changing, and we can see the beginnings of that already on satellite and radar through the afternoon hours here. A little bit of clouds, a few scattered showers around the Windsor region this afternoon. If I move the map out a little bit, though, you can see that ahead of sort of our main weather feature here, this cold front attached to an area of low pressure. This is going to bring us some showers and some much cooler weather, particularly as we get into the weekend. So as we get through the evening hours, a chance of some scattered showers, really not much to worry about, though, until we get into the day on Friday. Then we start to see the cloud building in. First thing in the morning, yes, we do see some showers moving through the early morning hours for Windsor, lingering through Chatham, Kent into London. As we get through the day on Friday, a mainly cloudy day, maybe some sunny breaks, and a good chance we'll see some of that shower activity continuing. I don't think this particular forecast model is doing a great job depicting the scattered showers that we'll see through the afternoon, but certainly that risk through the daytime tomorrow, some scattered showers, even along the coast around Sarnia, looking at some showers through the afternoon into the evening. Friday, once again, that risk of showers lingers into Saturday as well, and behind that, some much cooler air and temperatures that feel a lot more like fall than, say, summer. So here's a look at rainfall projections. This number is way out of whack. I think we're looking at generally 5 to 10 millimeters across southwestern Ontario over the next 48 hours or so. Overnight temperatures look like this. Showers start to move in, 18s and 19s overnight tonight, up to 21 tomorrow afternoon, 20 in London, 21 in Chatham, Kent as well. And your extended forecast, yeah, I mentioned a cool down on the way, 17 for Saturday, Meg, but we do warm back up to more warm summer-like conditions by the time we get into next week.
Thanks, Riley. All eyes now on that Sunday forecast as the Detroit Lions take on the Los Angeles Rams at Ford Field for their home opener. We have more news coming up after the break. If you're hoping to get a COVID-19 vaccine this month, you might be out of luck. Several provinces have said they've been asked to destroy their current stocks. Mike Crawley reports on the directive from Health Canada and the confusion it's created.
At this Toronto pharmacy, here's the fridge where the COVID-19 vaccines used to be.
The Public Health Agency of Canada has issued a market withdrawal.
When pharmacist Fadi Salama got this memo last week telling him to destroy his existing vaccine supply, he wondered if it might be a scam.
It was confusing enough for me to not take it seriously at first, and then I kind of read through it a little bit more and it seemed legitimate.
It was indeed legitimate from Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health. But with no new supply of COVID vaccine expected for weeks, it's left Salama puzzled.
Why would we get rid of something that is still good?
Ontario blames Health Canada. The federal agency wants the existing vaccine supply withdrawn before it will distribute an updated version targeting the newest strains of COVID.
I don't think that at the national or at the provincial levels, they're trying to create a vacuum. I think this is a harbinger that the updated formulation is going to come soon.
Health Canada says provinces are allowed to use last year's vaccines until the transition to the new shots, but there's clearly confusion. Alberta and Saskatchewan have joined Ontario in scrapping their existing stocks. British Columbia is keeping its supply available. Marie-Andrée Lajoie plans to travel overseas next month. The appointment she'd booked for a COVID shot has now been cancelled.
I like to be vaccinated. I believe in that stuff. They want us to be vaccinated, and all of a sudden, poof, no more vaccines.
Lajoie will now go get her shot in the U.S. Regulators there have already approved updated versions of 3 COVID vaccines. Here in Canada, they're all still under review. Officials expect they'll become available to Canadians in late September or early October. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
Only 2% of school buses in Canada are electric, despite the federal government investing millions. That story coming up after the break. The Trudeau government announced billions in funding in 2021 to put 5,000 zero-emission buses on the road over 5 years. That included school buses, but 3 years in, less than 2% of those buses driving kids to school are electric. CBC's Janice McGregor has more.
The first difference? How this bus sounds.
So the only thing you will hear are the wheels on the ground.
But CEO Marc Bédard's factory north of Montreal is also quieter than he'd like after 700 layoffs forced, he says, by federal red tape.
We have a lot of operators that want to electrify their fleet right now, and today they are waiting for an approval. There's nothing worse than announcing a program and not deploying it.
Electric school buses save money over the long run, but initially they're double the cost. Bédard expected federal subsidies to help build about 500 of his buses each year, but approval for just the first 200 took 2.5 years.
Demand is growing, and it's growing fast.
Both federal and Quebec politicians championed Lion Electric's batteries in buses, and provincial policies plus a rebate put about 1,000 e-buses on Quebec roads. But elsewhere, slow federal approvals stalled plans. Take Prince Edward Island. Without money for 200 more electric buses, it had to buy 30 new diesel replacements.
You'll see all kinds of jurisdictions that are planning the switch to electric buses that are kind of in limbo while they wait for this funding.
One reason for the holdup? Competition from municipalities who want this money to buy buses for public transit.
We traditionally don't, in federal politics, develop programs designed for provincial education systems.
But environmentalists point out school buses are public transit too, and those stinky diesel fumes, they're toxic.
There are more diesel fumes inside the bus than outside the bus, so it's really having an impact on our kids, and we need to be prioritizing those buses.
Some kids spend more time on school buses than adults do on public transit, especially in rural Canada. But right now, the politics of electrifying urban transit may be winning out. Janice McGregor, CBC News, Ottawa.
China's Shanghai Museum is trying out a new promotion, trying to encourage visitors to bring the whole family. Specifically, it's allowing them to bring their cats in carrier or pet strollers. The museum has pulled in crowds this summer of an exhibition of ancient Egyptian relics, including cat statues and other feline imagery. Well, that's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. Thanks so much for tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you back here tomorrow night.